All right, good evening, everyone. It's 6 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Michael Spaeth, and I am a principal planner with the town of Oro Valley and host of tonight's focus area meeting for the Catalina Shadows subdivision. This meeting is part of the public outreach process of the private property owners applications proposing new uses and standards at the Oro Valley Marketplace. The requests are to permit the development of apartments, hotels, and an entertainment district with recreation amenities. Thank you for joining us this evening, as it is integral to hear from you. Our primary purpose tonight is to gather feedback from neighbors and provide you an opportunity to ask questions and comments. A formal neighborhood meeting was held in March of 2020 where we heard from many of you. Tonight, the applicant is going to present a revised plan addressing many of the comments heard during that meeting, and then we want to hear from you. So now for tonight's agenda. First, I will quickly provide information about the review process and ways for you to stay involved. Some information on the background about the property. I'll briefly cover the applicant's requests, and then it's your turn to ask questions. And then I'll summarize the community's feedback from the first neighborhood meeting. Next, Ms. Carrie Sylvan from Lazarus and Sylvan, representing the property owner, will provide detailed information about their proposal and any changes that were made since the first neighborhood meeting. Then it is your turn to ask your questions and comments. Lastly, I will provide more information about the upcoming meetings as the process moves forward. We also wanted to let you know that an informational video has been posted on this project's webpage on ovprojects.com. If you haven't seen the video yet, we strongly encourage you to do so. Our number one goal tonight is to have a fair and efficient and a productive meeting. At this point, you may be familiar with online interactive Zoom meetings, but for those who aren't or just need a refresher, I will provide more information about how Zoom works and how to participate shortly. If anyone is having trouble using Zoom during the meeting, please contact Ms. Malini Sims, a principal planner with the town, at 520-229-4836 for assistance. Tonight's meeting is scheduled to go no later than 7:30 p.m. Finally, I'd like to note that this Zoom meeting video and the PowerPoint presentation will be posted on ovprojects.com as soon as possible. Comments will also be posted online on the project webpage in a neighborhood meeting summary and forwarded to the Planning and Zoning Commission and Town Council when they consider the applications. The applicant's proposal includes three separate yet related requests. First is a request to amend the existing zoning standards. Second is to reclassify the privately owned wash within the shopping center to allow for the development of the entertainment district. No changes to Big Wash are proposed. And lastly is to bring all the pieces together through a revised site design. I will go through each of these briefly later in my presentation, and the applicant is going to provide greater detail during her presentation. For these types of applications, the town requires applicants to engage in community outreach, as it is important to hear your comments and questions early and often. So where are we in the process? We are at the focus area meeting stage of the public participation process. Tonight's meeting is the first of 4. This process started with the in-person community-wide neighborhood meeting in March 2020, which had a significant amount of community input regarding the proposal. Since then, the applicant has provided a formal submittal and resubmittal with more specifics about the requests, which staff has been reviewing for code compliance. I previously mentioned that an informational video has been posted on ovprojects.com that was intended to provide updated information about the project prior to the focus area meetings. The 4 focus area meetings are scheduled throughout August, the purpose of which are to give immediate neighbors an opportunity to have an in-depth conversation with the applicant about specific issues affecting their neighborhood. While focus area meetings are open to everyone, Priority is given to neighbors in each focus area to provide an opportunity for this in-depth discussion. After the focus area meetings, a second community-wide neighborhood meeting is scheduled for September 13th. Please note this meeting had been previously scheduled for September 14th, but has since been moved to the 13th. This meeting is to bring the results of the focus area meetings together, view any proposed changes, and answer questions and hear additional feedback from the general public. The applicant's requests will require consideration by the Planning and Zoning Commission and Town Council. The dates are not set for those hearings, but the public will have an opportunity to speak at each, and notices will be sent out in advance once scheduled. Property owners near the site and within each focus area will continue to be notified of upcoming meetings directly by mail. Yellow signs will be posted in multiple locations on the site, and information will be posted online at ovprojects.com. If you weren't notified about this meeting and wish to be for future meetings, please send us a request with your name and address to ask@orovalleyaz.gov. Our focus through this public outreach process is on the future of the development, but as a brief history and for context, the development's design was approved in 2006 through an extensive public participation process. The center opened in 2008 with over 800,000 square feet of retail, restaurant, and office space. And to date, a number of building pads remain vacant, approximately 30%. A couple important elements of the previous approval include the multi-use path along the edge of the development, which was recently redone and connects to the larger countywide trail system. Also notable was the restoration of Big Wash, shown in green, which was restored from a previously degraded area to the dense vegetation seen today. The area shown in green is now owned by Pima County and is permanently protected as open space. So with regard to the applicant's request, the applicant is requesting to permit apartments and revise some zoning standards. Specifically, the applicant is seeking to adjust permitted building height for portions of the development and to reduce the building setbacks and buffer yards for portions along Oracle and Tangerine roads. Again, Ms. Sylvan will provide greater detail about their proposal, but as a brief overview, an apartment with a 75-foot height and a 49-foot hotel are proposed along Tangerine Road, shown here as A and B. A 49-foot hotel at the entertainment district is proposed where the C is located. And another apartment with a 59-foot height and 49-foot hotel are proposed along Oracle Road, notated by the D and E. Letter F is an alternate location for the hotel proposed in location E. The applicant is also pursuing purchase of right-of-way along both Oracle and Tangerine roads to help increase the developable area of the center. The second request, as I previously mentioned, is to reclassify the privately owned wash within the center, shown here in yellow, to allow for the development of a recreation or gathering area and event space, known as the entertainment district. Lastly, the applicant requests to bring all the pieces together through a revised site and landscape design, which will show the design and circulation of the proposed apartments, hotels, and entertainment district, as well as details regarding the design of parking and circulation of the undeveloped areas. With regard to the applicant's requests, key concerns that were brought up during the first neighborhood meeting include the need for and amount of proposed apartment units, the proposed height of the apartments and hotels with regard to view impacts of the Catalina Mountains, parking and the amount of traffic the new uses will generate, specifically increased traffic along Oracle Road, lighting and noise associated with the uses and entertainment district, and lastly, the projected construction timeline and when new uses are proposed to be open, specifically uses within the entertainment district. I'd now like to turn it over to Ms. Sylvan, representing the property owner, to provide more detail regarding their proposal and to discuss previous concerns.
Thank you, Michael. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great, thanks. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We're really looking forward to presenting this project and working through the community issues. I'm going to give you a little bit. It's a lot of, if you watched the virtual taping, it's a very similar presentation, but I've got a little bit more detail on some visuals, specifically from Catalina Shadows, that I think will be helpful. So as Michael indicated, we've been working with town staff since our neighborhood meeting back in March 2020, which little did we know 2 weeks later, a global pandemic was going to shut us all down. But during that time period, we've been working with staff on the layout of the project and the heights of the multifamily and locations of those multifamily uses, as well as other issues. We're still working with staff on the submittal. And as Mr. Spaeth indicated, we're starting the public outreach, and he already walked through all of that. I want to mention that both David Little and Rob Longacre from WLB Group are also on this meeting. And if a question comes up that is honestly too difficult for me to answer from an engineering perspective, Rob or David should be able to step in and assist. Go ahead. So first, I want to introduce, for those of you who don't remember or have not been introduced yet to Town West, they are essentially the new owners, newish owners and developers of the project. They're a family-owned development company. They've been in the region for over 40 years. They purchased Oro Valley Marketplace in September of 2019. They really work hard. You can see some examples of areas in town where they've, in the region where they've successfully developed a sense of community. They own Jostler Village. Casa Presidio was a dilapidated apartment complex on Fort Lowell. The council member in that area asked them to step in and assist. And you can see a few others of their developments. They're very much committed to reimagining the Oro Valley Marketplace and really want to create a vibrant place where existing residents and future residents and newcomers can gather to work, play, live, shop, and stay, and really appreciate the beauty of the area. Go ahead. The reason we're here, most of you know the location. All of you probably know the location. It's a very centrally located project. It's an established area near existing infrastructure, and it's always been planned for growth, as staff just indicated. It's a total of 105 acres. Major roads are already there. All of the infrastructure is there. And we have employment centers both to the north in that area, but also all around. Go ahead. We have a challenge with this project. We all know our relationship with bricks and mortar retail is changing. I don't know how many of you get daily Amazon Prime deliveries, but between me and 3 teenagers in our house, we have sometimes 3 times a day. But we're still going out and we want places to interact. So the challenge that we have, that the current marketplace presents, is a challenge to all of us. For the new owner, it's a need to be financially successful, but to the surrounding neighborhoods and new folks that are going to be moving in, we all want it to be successful and want a gathering place for connection, entertainment, and we are still shopping retail and living spaces. And for the town and the community, we need it to be economically successful, bringing in construction sales tax, bed tax from the hotel, and retail sales tax to help fund the priorities that town residents have. So we need to figure out how to create the spaces for connection, entertainment, including retail. And there is a formula that has worked in other communities and even in this region. Okay, go ahead. The solution, the marketplace already has the components to make it successful. It's already planned for development. We're not talking about fresh, ungraded land. We're proposing to develop on graded pads that have been intended and engineered and designed for structures. Our research on successful reimagining in other cities is creating a lifestyle, entertainment, and dining area where you can have special events, special places for those events. And there are 2 key components to making those successful that would be new to the Oro Valley Village Center, which is the residential and the hospitality. And you can see that starting to happen locally and in a lot of the higher end communities in the Phoenix area, where they're taking and bringing in apartments and other type of residential to help with bring back those projects. Town West wants to accomplish this and make it unique to Oro Valley and make sure it fits in. Go ahead. Oh, and there's the reimagining, the lifestyle and entertainment and dining. Sorry, I was one slide behind. Go ahead, Mike. Undeveloped areas. These are really our current, what we see as project opportunities. These are where we need to be creative. They're somewhat liabilities that we need to really turn into assets. They're vacant graded sites that need redevelopment. There's the man-made drainage area in the middle of the site that is really a separation and makes it feel like two separate sites. And our goal is really to activate it and have it become more of a center focus and community space rather than a division of the site. And again, it's a man-made drainage area. That was not a natural drainage area. And we can still accomplish the drainage. So we're not sacrificing anything when we try to create this really cool space. Go ahead. So as staff already indicated, the concept site plan has a few different focus areas. What I want to do is run through those, and I'm going to give you a little bit more detail as well as we go through each of these. So this whole concept site plan is something we're calling retail-dential. It's to create a true village where people can literally live, work, recreate, and walk in a setting. It's a village center environment, and it has all of those lifestyle components. It has the entertainment, the residential, the hospitality, the commercial, and really an urban village. There's 5 distinct areas that we want to take all that research and convert those liabilities we showed you a minute ago to assets. What I'm going to do is go through each one, and we're going to start with the entertainment. Go ahead, the next slide. Yes, this is where I'm showing you we're going to go to the entertainment. Go ahead. All right. So we're very excited about this space. We're currently calling it the Oasis Park and focusing on cultural, social, entertainment, lifestyle, and open space. On the northern area, which is kind of the area on the left of your screen, is really envisioned to be about a 1.4 acre versatile space for public events, art shows, seasonal ice rinks, things like that. Some events that are already there, like the annual tree lighting. We really want to create a purposeful space that is up against Tangerine Road. So to orient you, you can see the Walmart and the theater as well. In the middle area, that's going to have potentially a hotel with retail on the bottom. And then we really want to activate that space with some public park type amenities, meaning it's open to the public. So splash pad, maybe a sandy beach, other areas with playground, maybe a wading pool. Water is important. We know it's hot here and it's important to activate an area. It's also an incredibly important resource. So we're going to be working very closely with the town and making sure that we're doing appropriate water harvesting and recycling of those water spaces as we create them. In the southern area, and all this will be connected with pedestrian connections. We're looking at doing a cluster of restaurants in that area, and you'll see that runs up right against the loop and the bathroom area that already exists on the site. And that's kind of the area that we want to do, maybe a beer garden, some open amenities, seating areas, and again, the restaurant cluster. Go ahead. These next 2 slides are just showing you some inspirational photos for the types of amenities that we're talking about and places to be able to gather. You can go to the next one. And you can see the idea for the ice rink and the tree lighting, playground, modern playground opportunities, the sandbar and the beach. And then we don't want to lose the fact we're right next to the loop. And so there's some opportunities for some bicycle and coffee shop and some interaction with those spaces. Go ahead. These are just some really quick renderings of how this could look. That's the hotel in the background and the retail on the first floor. Go ahead. And in this area, you know, we already know we have, you can go to the next one as well. We already have Charge, San Carlos, Keg, and the Olive Garden, and we want to add more. We know that clusters of restaurants are really successful. And while this vision eliminates 60 parking spaces, in working with the town and ADOT, we are going to work to net about 250 parking spaces closer to Tangerine and Oracle Road. The hotel, go ahead, is a key component to this. And so this shows the areas where we can have first floor, those additional restaurants, the breakfast and seating area, and then 2 stories of a hotel above it. Go ahead. And this gives you an idea of what that hotel could look like when you incorporate all of the Oro Valley Village Center architectural guidelines that are already required for the project. Okay, go ahead. And again, that's the hotel that's part of the Oasis Park. It's probably about 100, I think it's a little over 100 rooms in that area, and really part of that activation. So the next part I want to focus on is the Tangerine Apartments, and that's on that graded pad that's on the far west side of the project. And that's the spot where we worked with staff to move we had the taller podium apartments over on Oracle, and we worked with staff to move those to Tangerine, because as you all know, especially from your views, when you look towards Oracle, that's Push Ridge. When you're looking out towards the Tangerine area, what you're looking at is the Oro Valley Hospital, which is 75 feet. So the other thing we did was we worked with staff to limit the height of this building, which is lower in grade than Oro Valley Hospital, to the same 75 feet, so that it's not going any higher than that. It's about 500 units in 5 stories with some corner lots. You can go to the next slide. So this starts to show you there'll be parking at the ground level. It won't be underground, but parking underneath the building. You can see the access points. There'll be a right-in, right-out access on Tangerine, and then you'll see the Water Harvest Way intersection over on the right-hand side, and the main entrance into those apartments, especially for visitors, will be off of Water Harvest Way in that area. Complements the loop connectivity. So the loop will be directly to the south. That's the path. And I can tell you that Pima County is working really hard with landowners and property owners around the loop to really activate and put things like multifamily dwellings there, so that people start to interact and use that awesome amenity. Go ahead. The building is broken down into smaller segments, and there'll be amenity spaces. Go ahead to the next one. There'll be some clubhouse, pool, maybe a dog park. The important thing is that it's not so much amenity space that it doesn't encourage people to interact with the rest of the village center, which is our goal. Go ahead. I'm going to show you a couple of elevations. These are meant to just highlight the architecture. So this is a view from the southeast. As I mentioned before, the tallest portion is 75 feet, but what we're not doing is creating a 75-foot roof line across the whole thing. The idea is that we can create variation in roof lines. And again, these incorporate the colors and the materials palette that's a requirement of the Oro Valley Village Center. So this is looking southeast. You can see that architectural variation and the proximity to the loop, which is right on the south. Go ahead, one more. And this is the view from the southwest, and you can see Oro Valley Hospital in the background, kind of on the left-hand side behind the building over there. Go ahead. I want to focus in on a couple of view sheds. So we did some simulations of specifically the apartments, both Tangerine and Oracle Road, since that's where the predominant height increase is being requested. We did use modeling software that can locate everything on the existing grades. And then we put in the model the height and the architecture of the building. And then we went and took pictures from each of these vantage points. These vantage points were utilized because they're on public rights of way. So we did not trespass into anybody's backyards. So these are on public right-of-ways, and we went to the closest areas that we could. And then we worked to find areas where we could see through the vegetation. You will see there are a couple of areas, there's some dense vegetation in those areas. But we did our best to be true to that kind of a methodology. So what I'm going to show you right now are just the 3 views. They're numbered 6, 9, and 10 that we took for the Tangerine Apartments. 6 is at the end of Terrestrial Place, and then 9 and 10 are both at the end of Centaurus Place. Go ahead. So this is, and I'm showing you both existing and then in the condition with the model. So this is from the end of Terrestrial, which is number 6 on that diagram. You can see Oro Valley Hospital over on the left. You can see some of the rest of the Oro Valley Village Center, some of the development in the distance. Go ahead. And then this is the location of the apartments over on the left-hand side. So you'll see it's from this vantage point, it's blocking a portion of the Oro Valley Hospital. Go ahead. And then this is 9, at the existing location. You can kind of see Oro Valley Hospital behind the tree on the left. Go ahead. And then this is what the apartments would look like from that vantage point. Go ahead on the next one. This is also from the similar location, but a slightly different vantage point. You can see Oro Valley Hospital again behind the tree. Go ahead. And then it's a little bit closer than Oro Valley Hospital. So you can definitely tell that, but again, what it's blocking is the view of Oro Valley Hospital. Okay, go ahead. All right, so now I'm going to focus on the Oracle Road Apartments, and you can go to the next slide. These are the apartments that we lowered in height and intensity. We were suggesting a height as high as 80 feet in this area, and it's now down to 50% of this building will be at 49 feet, and 50% of the building would have a maximum of 59 feet. And again, those are maximums. So the idea is to make some modifications to the roof lines. It's about 229 units in the 4 and 5 story building on a lower elevation. The other thing to understand is that this site is lower. It's both lower than Oracle Road, and it's also lower than the nearest adjacent home to the west, which is in Catalina Vista, sorry, Catalina Shadows. The nearest adjacent home to the west is 22 feet above, and it's over 1,700 feet away from the edge of the Oro Valley Village Center. This is showing you there's parking in the middle of the project. This is at the ground floor. And there will be some lobby and sales, and there may be some opportunities for some retail as well on that first floor. Go ahead. Continues the parking in the middle up to the second floor, and then the apartments around. Go ahead. And then the 3rd and 4th floor. 3rd floor is where the pool and the courtyard will be, and I'll show you a picture of that in just a minute. And so this is where you'll see this is all 4th floor. So this is at the 49 feet, and then go ahead. Right. This is it has to be less than 50% of the building that could come up to the 59 feet to add that 5th story on a portion of the building. Go ahead. So this is the 4-story area. Again, these heights are between 43 and 49 feet, as staff indicated. The current heights on this project and under the existing PAD is 39 feet, but it does allow 10 feet for architecture. So what used to be the Dick's Sporting Goods is a good example of the 49 feet. So this 4-story area is at a similar height at that 49 feet for the 4-story. And you can see the roof variation. Again, it's not 49 feet straight across. Go ahead. This is the space within the building amenity that I indicated I would show you, catering to young professionals, active retirees, offering a full array of amenities. There'll be clubhouse, fitness, and this pool area. Go ahead. And then this is the area that shows the 5-story, predominantly 59 feet. But again, you can see the variation in the roof line, and it's only 50% of the building that's permitted to be that high, and adds to the architectural variation. Just to point out again, we lowered the height by over 20 feet in working with staff, and so no longer proposing some of those 5-story areas to be higher than the 75 feet. These two slides are kind of like the others on the Tangerine, where they're not visual perspectives. They're to highlight the architecture and the quality of the materials. I'm going to show you the view sheds in just a minute. Go ahead. This just gives you a sense of some of the other areas within Arizona and outside that have been activated, kind of combining all of the retail as well as residential in a single development. Go ahead. So let me talk you through the view sheds. Again, these are all from Catalina Shadows. The views that show the Oracle Road Apartments are 1 and 2, which are at the end of Palisades. We'll go through in a minute. 4 at the end of Polestar Place. It turns out the view shed 3 doesn't bring in the Oracle Road Apartments. And then 5, 7, and 8. So 5 is at the end of Ganymede Drive, and then 7 and 8 are at the end of Terrestrial Place. Go ahead. So this is the end of Palisades, looking out towards the project. Go ahead, currently. And then you can see in the middle area, this is the area where those apartments would be. Go ahead to the next one. This is also from Palisades, but a slightly different vantage point. Go ahead. And you can see the apartments there in between the 2 trees. Go ahead. This is the end of Polestar. This is the one that will show the apartments. Go ahead. And you can see them through the trees as well in that area at the kind of base of the mountain. Go ahead. This is at the end of Ganymede. This is the existing. Go ahead. And this is you can see it at the base of Push Ridge in that area. Go ahead. This is the end of Terrestrial. Go ahead. You can see it over on the left-hand side by those trees next to the cactus. Go ahead. And this is existing. This is one of those areas where it was hard to maneuver through the trees from this vantage point. Go ahead. You can see it over on the left-hand side of the trees in that area. Go ahead. Okay, so I'm going to lump now together the 2 hotels and talk about those a little bit. They're both on Oracle. One's on Oracle, one's on Tangerine. Mr. Spaeth already talked about the potential alternative spot for the hotel as well. So those are listed as E and F. We're currently showing it on E, but it may transition over to F. Hospitality is, you can go to the next one. Hospitality is great to add because it also means guests are spending money. Out-of-towners are spending money and adding to the tax revenues. We're going to be making sure there's pedestrian connectivity from both hotels to the rest of the center. The loop connectivity is going to be a big piece of that, and we will be conforming to all of the design guidelines. Go ahead. This is the inspirational board that we looked at for other hotels. Go ahead. The Tangerine Hotel is intended to be about 150 rooms with parking. It'll be right across from the Tangerine Apartments. This gives an idea of what that could look like with the architectural requirements in the Oro Valley Village Center. Go ahead. And this is the Oracle, an idea of what the Oracle site could look like with about 112 rooms. Both of these hotels are intended to be, and what we're requesting is the 49 feet. And again, the current PAD allows 39 feet plus 10 feet for architecture. So by asking for the 49 feet, what that permits is a full 3 to 4 story hotel, with the 4th story being some additional rooms. Go ahead. So this is our vision statement for the Oro Valley Village Center. We're committed to reimagining the marketplace into a vibrant place. I said this at the beginning, where residents and visitors can gather, work, play, shop, live, and stay while enjoying the beauty of Oro Valley. So staff already went through this, but to achieve this vision, we are requesting the PAD amendment, the environmentally sensitive lands ordinance amendment, and we will be then revising the conceptual site plan and the architecture. I'm not going to belabor each of those because staff already went through them. We're looking forward again to re-engaging with the community and moving through the process.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Sylvan. Back in here. Before we get started with your questions, I'd like to explain how you can all participate during this meeting. To ask a question or make a comment, please raise your hand. There are 2 ways to do this. For those participating via phone, press *9 to raise your hand. You may need to use the passcode shown on the screen here, that is 429841. For those participating on the Zoom app or website, find the participants icon, click it to open a dialog box where you will see an option to raise your hand as shown on the right-hand side of this slide. Raised hands will be moved to the top of the list in the order in which they are raised. When it is your turn, please make sure you are not muted on your personal device and that your video is on by using the microphone and video icons shown on this slide. When I announce who is up to speak, I will also announce the next person whose turn it will be to speak so that that person is prepared. Again, if you are having any technical issues with Zoom or have further questions about my Zoom participation instructions, please contact Ms. Malini Sims anytime during the meeting at 520-229-4711 to request further assistance with Zoom. We are going to do our best to get through everyone's questions and comments. Again, the focus of tonight's conversation is for residents of the Catalina Shadows subdivision who will be given priority. If we have time remaining at the end of the meeting, I will ask for questions from anyone who does not live in Catalina Shadows. Please keep your input to no longer than 3 minutes out of fairness to all participants who wish to be heard. I will respectfully remind folks of this guideline as needed, as the goal of this meeting is to have a productive conversation about the project and provide constructive feedback. Please keep that in mind as we move through the meeting tonight. And with that, we can get started with your questions. Please bear with me as it may take a moment to unmute folks and move between our speakers. It looks like our first speaker is on the phone with the last 4 as 8484. And at the moment, that's the only question we have. So I'll go ahead and unmute you. Please make sure you're unmuted on your device. And whoever's on the phone with the last 4 as 8484, you are up, ready to go if you can unmute on your end. Give you a few more moments to see if we can double check on your phone or your iPad or whatever you're calling in on there to unmute yourself if possible. I'm not seeing the unmute coming off there, so I don't see any other questions at the moment. Anybody else have a question while we're waiting for the person on 8484 to unmute? Please, by all means, raise your hand. And whoever is on 8484, if we're unable to get you off mute for whatever reason, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at the ask@orovalleyaz.gov to ask your question or make your comment. We'd be still absolutely vital to hear what you wanted to contribute this evening. So while we're still waiting for 8484 to see if we can get unmuted, it looks like we have Sean Samsel has also raised his hand. So Mr. Samsel, if you're able to, there you go. Did you want your video on?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, we can hear you. Go right ahead.
Cool. Great presentation. Thanks for all the information. I was just curious if, I understand there's a lot of approvals and stuff that would need to happen, but what's the tentative time frame for this project if it went according to, how you'd like it to go?
Okay, yeah, great question. I'm definitely going to defer that to Ms. Sylvan or somebody else on the applicant team. Ms. Sylvan, are you there?
Yes,
Okay.
sorry. Apparently I needed you to unmute me. Sorry about that. Sean, thank you for the question. If I were channeling my client, the answer would be yesterday. But the reality is we're probably about probably till the end of this year to get through the entitlement process. And then I would say another good 9 to 10, maybe close to a year to get through some of the other development package and other permitting. But I think his hope would be within what year are we in now? 2021. By the end of 2022 to have some of this going for sure. And I know this wasn't really part of your question, but I'm going to throw it in there. They have been talking to potential users who are very interested and particularly about the re-envisioning and have a lot of interest from actual hotel flags, from apartment developers, as well as retail restaurants. A lot of restaurants are really interested in coming in, and you saw some of them even coming in during COVID. So really excited to get it going. Hopefully see some movement within 2022 if we can.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Sylvan. Next up, we have Timothy Hyde, and then on deck is Penny G. So Penny, get ready. Timothy, if you can, there you go. Did you want your video turned on?
Sure.
Okay,
Hey.
there you go. Go for it. Yep, we can hear you. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I'm pretty excited for this. I live right on Labyrinth, where my backyard is the wash. So this will be happening right across from my backyard, which is pretty cool. I was curious, not necessarily the timeline of when it's going to start, but is the intention to build all of this in one shot, or is there going to be a planned phase approach where some of it's going to be constructed and other parts will be constructed? Is there a game plan for that?
Okay, thank you for the question again, Ms. Sylvan.
Yes, there is a game plan, and I always picture I don't know if you're Timothy, if you're old enough for this, but the I Dream of Jeannie, where the genie does this and all of a sudden everything appears. I think that, again, if I were channeling my client, that's what they would like to happen. Probably you as well, because then you would avoid the whole construction activity. But the goal is to time it really with the market. And right this moment in time, if we can kind of keep things moving, the goal would be to do the Tangerine Apartments, the Tangerine Hotel, and that entertainment area. Actually, the Tangerine Apartments, the hotel, the Oasis Park Hotel, and that entertainment, that's really a key to getting a lot of things kind of pulled together. And then kind of things falling from there. The other two hotels, there's a tremendous demand right now for hotel rooms. I think we're all done being locked up. and want to get out. So that's a big demand, and there's a big demand for the apartments as well. I think he's focused right now on Tangerine and that entertainment area first, and then kind of follow the market from there.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Sylvan. So Penny G is up, and then on deck we have Dave. So Dave, get ready. And Penny, you should be good to go. Make sure you're unmuted. Would you like your video turned on? Oh, Penny, are you there? Penny, is your microphone turned on? We can't hear you. One of the challenges of Zoom. Penny, yeah, double check to see if you can get your microphone on. For some reason, we can't hear you. It shows that you're unmuted on our end, but we can't hear anything. So I will circle back to you, Penny, in just a second. So Dave, you're up, and I believe the person on 8484 has figured out how to unmute. So you're on deck. So Dave, please go right ahead whenever you're ready. Would you like your video on?
Sure.
Okay, go right ahead. We can hear you.
So last summer, Ms. Sylvan and I had some dialogue over noise from the movie theater project that went on. How has that informed, or how do we compare that to the expected development in terms of what to expect or design around or factor that kind of experience in?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Dave. And sorry about all of that. So a couple of things. First of all, the town actually has adopted and updated a noise ordinance, which is going to be very helpful to this project. As you know, all of you know, because you lived through it, that one opportunity to actually engage occurred on the vacant parcel where the apartments are, and no barriers whatsoever, right? No walls, no nothing. They weren't supposed to behave that way. We came down on them a few times. I think it got better, and then I'd get a call from you saying, I really like ABBA, but I don't really want to listen to this movie in my living room. So we apologize. So we are very conscious of the noise issue. Again, buildings are going to be helpful to that. We're also committed to complying with the town's noise study. One of the things that we have discussed is the timing of that noise study, and making sure that we've got enough data to ensure that we're doing all of the mitigation that needs to be done to help with that. We expect, you saw the Oracle Road apartments, the pool area is encapsulated in the building. There's a purpose for that. Same thing, you saw that over in the Tangerine Apartments. So it's not a vacant lot that doesn't have a building blocking it. And then we'll be working with the town very closely in that entertainment area as well. We don't expect that to have a lot of noise, but we'll make sure that we're complying with that noise ordinance. So thank you for bearing with us and for being kind in your frustration and your complaints. And I do apologize that you had to keep calling.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And the fact that that location will be apartments, the residents won't want noise either. So I want to make sure the entertainment side of it factors it in. So thank you.
Yeah, and it's actually a good point too, that is a lot of an internal control, which is important to understand. We're going to have people living there, not just all of you who are current residents, but future residents living there. And keep in mind, right adjacent to that entertainment area, we're proposing a hotel, right? So hotel guests are going to tolerate a lot of noise late at night at a 0 level. So there's some internal controls in there as well that are really important.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sylvan. So it looks like our participant with the phone number 8484 has figured out how to unmute. So you're up next, and I believe I saw that Penny G was able to connect to audio too. So you're on deck, Penny. So 8484, please go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for your patience, Michael. I appreciate
Sure.
that. Melanie was very helpful, so
Great.
thank you, everybody. My name is Devin Sloan. I'm the Vice President of Catalina Shadows Homeowner Association. And I don't know if you all remember back in 2015-16, when the town council and management were excited about the concept of a main street. And in their wisdom, they're talking about an area on La Cañada from Town Hall South to Lambert Lane, possibly traveling east on Lambert to Oracle, and maybe including the parking lot where Target and Fry's are located. But it was confusing. Residents and even the town staff were not quite sure about the parameters. Gratefully, that concept is no longer on the books. But the Oro Valley Village Center is. This is the location where Main Street should be. And you've just heard about what's in the works. Shops, restaurants, residences, hotels, activities, and it's right on the Huckleberry Loop, which can be a jumping off point for residents and visitors to Oro Valley to explore what else Tucson has to offer. This developer, Town West, has been in business in Tucson for over 40 years. They're not a developer from Phoenix who doesn't really know or understand or frankly care about our market. These folks live and work here and want this to succeed just as much as we do. Their reputation's on the line and they want to make it work for all of us. Which would you all rather have? A marketplace with a few restaurants, less than a dozen stores, even if one of them is my favorite, DSW, and many empty spaces, or a vibrant area which will attract all age groups, residents, and visitors alike, and can truly be Oro Valley's Main Street. It's a place where that Main Street sign leading into the Fry's Market on First truly belongs. Thanks, Carrie, for your presentation tonight, and best of luck.
All right. Thank you, Devin, very much. And Penny, I don't know if I accidentally lowered your hand, but I'm going to ask you to unmute if you'd still like to ask your question. Penny G, that is. I don't see your, oh, there you go. Yep. Penny, are you there? Can we hear you this time? Still no luck. Double check on your settings there on Zoom. I don't know what device you're on, but under near the mute button, you should be able to select whether or not your microphone is being used by Zoom or if it's trying to use something else. Or I believe you can switch to phone audio if that's helpful for you as well. We'll give you a few more minutes to see if we can figure that out. But again, same goes for you, Penny. Whatever your question or comment is, please send that to ask@orovalleyaz.gov, and we'll be happy to provide you an answer, whether that was a question for town staff or the applicant. I don't see any other hands at the moment, but I'll give it. Oh wait, it says there is one. Oh, all right, Sean, you're back on. Should be ready to go. Go ahead and unmute. And you said no to the video, right? Yep, go right ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, I was also curious. I'm sure you've talked a lot with the existing, tenants, especially the anchor tenants. I'm just curious if you could share any generalized feedback of what their reaction to this has been, and generally if we would expect any big changes to primarily the larger stores that are in the marketplace now.
Yeah, a good question. And the generalized feedback is really excitement for reinvigorating the center. I mean, obviously they're there as retailers and restaurants, and the idea that we'd be bringing in resident people actually living on site to help support along with the existing residents in Oro Valley. Some of the retailers that are there, the larger retailers, are kind of looking, I don't want to use the term struggling, but the retail market is changing. We all know that. And what they're really, with at the national level, what they're really looking at is population in and around a lot of their stores. And so as we can increase that in this area, we have a higher likelihood of maintaining them and keeping them here. And so that's been a lot of the discussion has been about the population increase that's desired in Oro Valley, and kind of what we're trying to create in this area to keep those retailers there.
Thank you, Ms. Sylvan. Are there any other questions? Oh, all right, Penny's back. All right. Hopefully we figured out the microphone thing. Are you there, Penny?
Can you hear me now?
We can
you
hear
hear me now?
you. All right, success. Nice perseverance.
Thank you.
Right ahead.
I had to dial in by phone. It just wasn't working on my computer. Hi, this is Penny and Coral. Thank you for the presentation. We had a couple of questions. One, which was already addressed, was the noise, potential additional noise pollution. Another one was the water park. Where is the water coming from for the water park? Just curious.
Okay, Ms. Sylvan.
Yeah, and I don't know, David and Rob, if you want to chime in. The Oro Valley Water is the water provider for the project, and what we are intending to do is work with the Oro Valley Water Department on recycling and using some reclaimed water. It obviously has to be safe because people will be interacting with it, and we want to make sure we're being responsible with that water use. I want to make sure that was accurate. Usually if we're in person, either David or
I've asked both Mr. Little and Mr. Longacre to unmute if either one of them wants to chime in.
Okay.
There you go. Mr. Little, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
So I think really the water use would be potable water use for Oro Valley water, but really most of the splash pads and those kinds of things have the recirculating systems, so the water use is not terribly great. So that would certainly be the use for the active the recreation portions of it. And then generally speaking, I'm not sure if everyone realizes either, but the overall center of Oro Valley Marketplace, back when we originally did it 10-15 years ago, has a couple of very large cisterns in there that take rip water off of the Walmart, and then also the road majors over there where Dick's Sporting Goods used to be. So there's already a pretty robust water harvesting system in place. So that's obviously a good thing.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Little. Did that answer your question, Penny?
Yes, I think my husband has an additional question.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same side with the noise issue. We're on the other side, and sorry, we're probably going to attend our meeting too later on in August, but we're on the other side of Oracle Road, and we have a lot of noise that bounces off the mountains, and so we're going to be adding a lot of traffic, both from hotels and then potentially from apartment complexes, outside entertainment in a bar. And I like to sit in my backyard and listen to the birds, and that's already being corrupted. So what are you going to do to make sure that the people that are around you aren't going to be impacted by this?
Ms. Sylvan?
Sure. And there, it's a good question. And, there's a lot of mitigation measures that can be taken once we know where the noise on the site will be coming from. Because as you're pointing out, we're not entirely sure where those opportunities for noise to carry will be. And there are really great noise studies and noise mitigation, again, for the apartments and those areas. We've got the outside areas encompassed within buildings, and buildings and walls are especially the tall ones, are fantastic noise barriers. And the town recently updated its noise ordinance as well, to not only require that study, but also to acknowledge the levels of noise that are appropriate from the edges of the properties. So we're already going to be mitigating it at the edge of the properties. The roads are, I mean, Oracle Road is a state highway. It's built at a capacity to handle the traffic that's there, as well as the future traffic. I'm not sure I can necessarily speak to noise mitigation on the roads. What I can speak to is the noise mitigation from the project area.
Okay, thank you,
Still
Ms.
planning to, sorry, are you still planning for a beer garden?
That the idea in the entertainment area is to create, it depends on whether or not there's, a user that is a restaurant or a user that wants to do that. We're hoping that's the case. That would be in the center area. So thinking about where you are, there'll be some restaurants and then some other intervening buildings before you even get to Oracle Road. Oracle Road is then elevated in that area. So that's another, additional sound barrier. I'm not sure if you're still speaking to the sound or if you just want to know if you can go get a beer in a beer garden. But assuming it's the sound, there's a lot of things that will already be there. And then we will be required, once we have an idea of whether or not there will be outdoor speakers, how that would work, we're going to be required to do a noise study and work with a noise and acoustical expert and make sure that we're placing those, if they're even going to be there, in a way that helps to mitigate the noise at all of our property lines.
Yeah, because I used to live in the La Paloma Estates and would listen to wedding parties and concerts up from the resort on the hill till pretty early in the morning, and I really don't want to hear that again.
Okay. We won't let people drink beer in the morning. I'm just kidding. I hear you. I hear your comment. I'm not belittling it. I'm just trying to make an inappropriate joke.
Understand. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Penny and Carl. Appreciate the comments, and thank you for bearing with us when we got you on the audio there. So are there any other questions? I don't see any other hands up. If not, I will, I'll wait for a moment just to see if anybody else has anything they'd like to ask. Again, if you do have questions or comments that you think of after this, by all means, reach out to us at ask@oralvalleyaz.gov, and we'll be happy to get in touch with you and provide you an answer if we can. All right, well, I don't see any coming, so I'm going to go ahead and just finish up here real quick with the end of the meeting here. I did want to just quickly take a moment for Ms. Sylvan's benefit and those on the applicant team of what we heard today. So there was, of course, some questions about the timeline and whether or not the project was going to be phased. Obviously, there were several questions with a focus on noise pollution and controlling that moving into the project, as well as where water concerns. Of course, we're all dealing with the ongoing drought here. So questions on how to manage that moving forward. So with that said, I want to quickly, lastly, I'd like to conclude by inviting everyone to stay engaged in this process. The video and PowerPoint presentation for all 4 focus area meetings will be uploaded to the project's webpage on ovprojects.com once completed. The next opportunity to hear about the project and provide feedback will be during the second formal neighborhood meeting in mid-September. I would like to again reiterate how vital it is to hear your comments and questions. Community participation is what makes Oro Valley a special place. Please send any questions and comments to ask@orovalleyaz.gov. Thank you again for your attendance this evening, and we look forward to seeing you at the second neighborhood meeting scheduled on September 13th. Stay in the know about all the upcoming meetings and project information by checking ovprojects.com under the project name shown on this slide. Thank you for your time and have a good evening.